Beautiful. I'm sorry we missed your land acknowledgement, and I didn't want to interrupt you. Okay, thank you for joining us today for National Housing Month. And today we'll talk about our housing programs and a new program at CMHA. But I'll go through my the information on our current housing program, which has operated in the city of Edmonton for almost 60 years. So we're very proud of that. We have 7 buildings in our housing portfolio with only 146 units. So we're small but mighty. So you can see on the screen, those are a list of our apartment buildings. And I will tell you every time I go to change this typo, so the almost 60 years, Wood Manor on the top should say 1967, not 77. So that was our first building, which started as a hostel. Anyway, so we currently own 4 of our buildings, and then we operate in conjunction with the province as a PMP. And so there's 3 buildings that are social housing in conjunction with the that are owned by the province of Alberta. So currently we have 2 apartment buildings. They're all north side of the river, all kind of in downtown core. We have 2 properties in Inglewood neighborhood, one in Central McDougall, one in Queen Mary's Park, one Boyle McCully, and 2 in Montrose. So the Montrose buildings would be the furthest away from downtown, but still just on the north side of the downtown core. So, um, yeah, we'll just talk a little bit more in detail about how the program works. You can change slides there, Anne, please. So yes, like I said, Wood Manor was a hostel originally for 14 people with 1 resident staff, and now we've had it for many years as it's a nine unit apartment building. So some of our apartment buildings are quite small, and Wood Manor is one of our little gems, little hidden gems. It's people tend to move in and stay. I currently have a tenant there that's lived with us for over 32 years. So it's amazing. Um, so the first 4 that we'll talk about, Wood Manor, Citrus Court, Edward Street, and Northern Arms, those buildings are all considered affordable rent. So they're all 20%, minimally 20% below market value rent. Citrus Court is one of our largest footprint buildings. It's 27 units. One is a 2 bedroom. It's on a large corner property, so the footprint of the building is quite large. We have a lovely community garden that's attached to that building that tenants can partake in gardening if they want. Otherwise, they can just enjoy the nice outside space. But it's a nice building that falls under the affordable housing rent. And Edward Street is our newest building in our portfolio, and this particular building is 27 units. It's comprised of all bachelor units, but because it is newer, it's only about 10 years old now, or maybe 12. The bachelor units are a nice size and they're fairly modern. This is our only building in our portfolio that has an elevator too. And the nice thing about Edward Street is there's actually 7 units that are barrier free completely. So they're wheelchair accessible, and they even have, like, the wheelchair can go right under the counter if needed. So the light switches and everything are lower. And it's 4 stories. There's a basement and then 3 above ground. But even the basement units they have very high ceilings, like 10 feet high ceilings. So it doesn't feel like you're in the basement. Northern Arms is our newly acquired, the most recent we acquired building in Queen Mary Park. And it's 15 units. So again, it's a nice tiny size. Tenants have lived in, some of the tenants have been there for a long time. We purchased the building in 2015 and again, it's affordable. So at least 20% below market value. And then we have the provincial not-for-profit properties, there are three of them. And these are actually the largest buildings that we have. So one is 30 units and the other two are 19, sorry. And they're the only units, the two buildings, Santa Rosa A and B, are the only ones that we have that are two bedrooms. So these are good for families, mother and single moms and kids, or a mom and a dad and a child. So all of these properties, because they are owned by the province, are rent geared to income. So all tenants pay 30% of their household income for rent there. It's a run like a deficit budget. So the government will give us money to manage the property. And run we maintain the property on behalf of the province. So, who do we serve? So, the housing program provides quality, secure, affordable housing with for people with mental illness, past or current mental concerns, health concerns, or um, people with low income. So it's broad criteria, must be 18 years or older and completely capable of living one independent and in community living. So we're not supportive living, but we do call ourselves a supportive landlord. So I like to say that my tenants are no different than maybe the apartment building across the street that I'm looking at. Our tenants are sometimes quirky, but quirky happens in every apartment building. So we're not unusual in the tenants that we work with. We just know how to support them better than some of the other larger landlords in the city that may find it challenging to deal with some of the concerns that we address on a daily basis. So we're able to connect tenants to community support and help tenants access support. And of course, we assist tenants by supporting them with their concerns on a daily basis. So, like I said, 146 units. So 36% of our tenants have lived in our properties for more than 10 years. 67% of our tenants are currently receiving AISH benefits. 11 tenants in our portfolio have called CMHA home for more than 20 years. We're very proud of that. And as of the end of March, our fiscal year, we had 156, including 10 families with 13 children living in our properties. And in 2024-25, 14 new individuals received safe, affordable housing from us. Our housing team, like I said, is small but mighty. We consist of housing services manager, that's me. We have one full-time maintenance coordinator and one full-time maintenance contractor, one part-time maintenance coordinator. We have a part-time housing coordinator, and of course, access to peer support services, which Anne will talk about later. And then in two of our buildings, we have a building liaison and a tenant liaison. So they're on site, they live in the properties, and they work with tenants like an hour or two a day. and they're there if tenants have concerns. They're on site in the building so they know what's happening. And then we also have janitorial and grounds maintenance people, snow removal, that kind of thing. So we have some big community connections, built many relationships over the years, and we're proud to be partners with the Housing First program and Homeward Trust. We're a member of the ECHO and AFA, which is the Alberta Public Housing Administrators Association, and we're also crime-free multi-housing program buildings as well. How do you apply? So, applications can be self directed or agency initiated as well. So, applicants again must be older than 18, must be able to live independently, have a history of mental illness or low income, and in need of subsidized housing. So, professionals may refer, or individuals can refer. Our application is right on our website. There's the address there, and there is a checklist on the top of our application, and that checklist are all the things that we need in order to assess the application. So it's a long application because we are, again, in partnership with the Alberta government. And so the application to be part of a management body or a PMP with the province is fulsome, let's say that. And anyways, we use that same application for all of our properties. So, included in the application is income verification describing current income. We also require a written reference, preferably from a previous landlord, written reference from a medical or mental health professional outlining suitability for independent living. And once we have the application completed and we have all the pieces, then we would go ahead and score it under criteria used by the government of Alberta for social housing. And then at that time, the individual would be added to our wait list. And the wait list currently is around a year long, we like to say, but it has nothing to do with when someone applies. It is based on need, and every application is scored with the same criteria. And then once they're on the wait list, we just keep in touch with that individual. They can phone us and communicate with us anytime and check in, see what we have. And then when an apartment comes available, we start at the top of the wait list and work our way down until it's full. And do you want to do question and answers at the end, Anne? You want to go ahead first, or how do you want to do it?
I think just for the sake of time, given I had some technical issues at the beginning and that ate up a fair bit of our time, it might be best to leave the questions till the end.
Sure.
Thanks so much, though, Marnie.
So I'll hand it back to Anne, and I'm glad I got to go before you, Anne, because Anne steals the show.
Thanks so much, Marnie. And everyone has heard a lovely presentation from Marnie, really focusing in on that being a housing provider that CMHA does. And then we also have those secondary kind of supports where we're looking at the individual in housing and more that holistic picture. So I'm here today to really showcase kind of those peer support services in our housing diversion program. You have to bear with me one moment while I get everything organized. So for starters, if we center ourselves around the big picture, essentially of these two programs, in January 2024, the city declared a housing and homelessness emergency, and as part of that response, the city created a community mobilization task force to identify innovative upstream solutions that could make a real impact in the community. Part of that is they selected CMHA Edmonton as one of those three investable community initiatives, selecting to lead a new peer-led housing stability and approach. It's important to highlight that CMHA Edmonton is also went into partnership with Homeward Trust to strengthen this preventative initiative in our community. And the city, along that context, committed up to $1 million to launch the peer-based aspects of this work. So we're really focusing on peer-based service delivery and training within that funding. Down. Additionally, CMHA was chosen because we have that peer support foundation. We have experience and capacities around lived experience workforce, system relationships, and that capacity to scale and adapt prevention models quickly, filling a gap that the task force identified as critical to Edmonton's emergency response. The attention from this onset was clear. It's really to support people at risk of losing housing before they reach crisis. So our peer support service and housing diversion, the two programs, the approach that we take is bringing together two complementary programs, housing diversion and the peer support. And really these two provide short-term upstream stabilization for individuals that are at risk of losing their housing and needing that support as they're walking through their mental health recovery journey. Housing diversion focuses on early practical problem solving while people ideally are still housed, or if they have very recently lost their housing, and includes such things as landlord communication, benefits and documentation, budgeting, and navigating through the system barriers before a crisis continues to escalate. If we look at the peer support services, this is the relational layer. So our trained workers with lived experience provide emotional support, practical help, and system navigation in ways that reduce power dynamics and build trust. These two programs are not long-term case management or clinical intervention. It's really focused on preventative-based support designed to stabilize situations early and keep people housed. And so currently, as we know, the system doesn't work for everyone. Many people are at risk of losing their housing. They can't access the supports that are meant to help them. Some are navigating trauma or other difficult or disappointing experiences that they've had with institutions in the past, and they're coming to the table having the failed experience with the system. So many people feel overwhelmed by complex processes, even just the thought of documentation or hearing wait times. And that results in individuals completely avoiding accessing these services because they're worrying that they won't be understood or treated with dignity. And it's a lot for people to overcome. So we know that the system isn't working because CMHA is in this space every single day. We also operate 211 and distress line, and we hear from thousands of people seeking support. A significant portion of these are related to housing stress and loss, and these numbers continue to grow year to year. And we are deeply connected to people with lived experience, not only participants, but as peer workers, volunteers, and community leaders, individuals on committees. We take that insight critically and important and have value in it. And this really shows us where the systems are working and where they're not. We're also actively engaged in communities across Edmonton. And so we get that firsthand knowledge of hearing about barriers, fears, and needs along the way. And that helps inform that data and reports. And finally, we work closely with partners across the sector, including Homeward Trust, Bissell Center, SAGE, and many other community organizations. And together, this helps people move through the system before they're and where they're falling through the cracks. All of this gives us, CMHA, a clear picture of what is happening on the ground and why upstream relational support is so critical. So who is our program meant to support? This program supports three groups of individuals who are at real risk of losing their homes. Firstly, we have individuals who are already on the edge of housing loss. They may be behind such things as rent or utilities, facing evictions, or landlord conflict, or struggling with just filling out documentations for benefits or any unexpected expenses. Secondly, we have individuals that are navigating significant mental health challenges, including serious and persistent conditions. Many individuals are coping with anxiety, depression, grief, and may just be feeling overwhelmed. Some individuals are coming directly out of hospital and needing that post-crisis support, and also support maintaining stability while they work on their recovery. And lastly, individuals that we work with are often disconnected from traditional supports. So some have had difficulty or traumatic experiences with the systems. Others have no natural supports or feel overwhelmed with the processes and forms. Many want support from someone who truly understands where they're coming from and what they're going through. And these are the people that are most at risk of losing their homes. And this is exactly who the program is designed to support. How people access our program is through many different pathways. Some reach directly through CMHA's own services, including 211 and Distress Line. Others are referred through some of our partners like Coordinated Access or SAGE or Bissell Center, many other frontline agencies that we're working to connect with. And then as well, the pathways are flexible and open. And when we need that adaptability, because really the goal is simple. If someone is at risk of losing their home, we want to make sure that they can reach us quickly and without those barriers. And we'll speak a little bit to later, but we really know that delay is it just increases the problem tenfold over. So the effectiveness of prevention is, sorry, it's going up here. Really more than anything, what we're learning is that prevention works. And we've seen lots of models for housing first, but we're focusing today here on that prevention aspect. When we can connect with people early, and the vast majority are able to stay housed. So out of the 150 people who have come to us already housed but are at risk of losing their housing, 141 were stabilized and able to remain housed. And that's just from an April to October number. So this is a short time frame. We're also seeing that people often need only brief support. Peer support work is averaging just over 2 visits to being able to get individuals on the right course of pathway that they're looking for. Housing diversion handles some more complex cases and usually they only need that support in about like a 6 meetings roughly before they're able to de-escalate that situation and get them the support that they need. So from these numbers, we're really able to see that the message is clear. When support is accessible, peer-led, and available early, prevention is effective and people can stay in their homes. So the capacities of peer support workers with lived experience, we're already learning so much from our program. And part of that is that peer support workers bring a unique set of strengths that really make this work possible. They build that trust quickly, especially for individuals who may have reached out and they don't feel safe engaging with formal systems. It helps decrease those kind of big feelings that are coming up of fear, shame, and uncertainty. They help people talk to landlords, they resolve issues quickly, they prevent things from escalating. They also help with those documents, as mentioned earlier. Peers also reduce crises by getting involved early and staying connected throughout the whole process and even through moments of instability. And because it is coming from somebody that understands, who's been there, who has walked their own lived experience, but has relatable experiences and feelings, it feels human, safe, and accessible. This is a key point of why peer support is such a critical part of prevention. It reaches people who might never connect with traditional services, and it gives them what they actually need to stay housed. And that's the safety, trust, and support from someone who truly understands. So why prevention and peer support power? One of the clearest things that our work has shown us is that the risk of housing loss becomes visible long before a formal eviction notice. People usually reaching out, they usually reach out when they feel that something is starting to slip and not when they're already on the street. We're seeing patterns that destabilizing housing long before crisis results in delays with benefits and recertification, sudden changes in income, mental health decline, burnout, grief, and major life transitions. On paper, people might look stable with income, housing, and supports, but often privately, they're struggling to hold everything together. This is exactly where peer support workers make early intervention effective. People feel safe telling someone that's been there, the truth about what's really going on for them in their lives. This means peers are catching risks much earlier than traditional services ever see. And when support comes early, before eviction or homelessness, most situations stabilize and help decrease that crisis from escalating or even from happening. Early connection is what changes the outcome in the end. So taking a look at some data narratives, these numbers show just how much the need exists, but they also show something much more important. When people are connected to support early, they stabilize. In housing diversion, between those months of April and October, we supported 319 individuals and 97% remain housed. That's not a small number. That's hundreds of people who did not enter into the homelessness sector. On the peer support side, 300 participants received practical and emotional support that helped them stay housed and build confidence and stability. There were 340 reported positive outcomes from those interactions, which tells us that people are not just surviving. They're developing skills, they're building community, and they're increasing their resiliency. What the numbers make clear is that early intervention works. When people are reached before crisis, they stay housed and they stay connected to support. The takeaway is simple. Peer support works, it keeps people housed, it reduces crises, and it improves well-being, and it does it quickly. So kind of a glance at individuals that are accessing our programs. Um, and it's not so it's not so much as in a simple kind of breakdown, but more than half are facing eviction, more than a quarter are leaving violence, and every person we support is experiencing mental health challenges. So we can see that complexity that's being overlapped. 5.3% of peer support participants and 15.6% of housing diversion participants identify as being Indigenous. And we are also seeing significant support needs from seniors. Almost one-third of participants are older adults who are suddenly at risk because of income changes or benefit transitions. And so here's a couple kind of glances of kind of the stories that individuals are connecting with us. So one example, a person facing eviction, dealing with depression. At first, they're wanting to appeal, not or they decided not to appeal, and housing diversion was able to support overturning that eviction and getting peer support connected to with that mental health and housing support until everything was stabilized. Second kind of situation, a participant living with cognitive and memory challenges was supported to prevent eviction, access those benefits and employment resources, and ultimately return to work in a field that they love. Lastly, an individual who was reaching out to our teams with regular thoughts of suicide, formed a steady connection with a peer worker, really stabilizing their housing and basic needs, and no longer having those thoughts of suicide. And that speaks volumes to what this work can do to impact the well-being in someone's life. So why does this work and why does it matter? What we're learning is that lived experience changes everything. Many people face housing stress or mental health challenges, often don't feel safe engaging with the formal systems, as I mentioned. A lot of those prior experiences have either been overwhelming or ineffective or even harmful. Peer support workers really create that space where people feel respected and understood. Because they have that lived experience, it builds that trust. Trust opens that door for honest conversations. And peers are both relational and they have practical strengths. They help with those calls to landlords, documents, benefit systems, applications, transportation, etc. And it's really, I'm meeting you here as a human and I have knowledge that I can share with you on how to navigate this system. Let's do it together and let's learn together. And that really is the key. The key is learning. Lived experience isn't just helpful, it's what makes prevention work for people who might otherwise fall through the crack. Prevent that. It's really getting in there and preventing things from getting worse for individuals. Something that is critical in our program is the simplicity of access. And really, that looks around that there truly is no wrong door. If someone reaches out to 211, the distress line, or even our main reception, they're connected directly to the team and as well as our partners. They have direct contacts to us, and They're making sure that they are reaching out to us once they're being identified and helping to identify people early, because that's where we do our best work. And they're directing them to us. Speed really matters. Housing diversion reaches people within one business day, and peer support connects within 1 to 3 business days. That timing's critical. When people are facing a benefits disruption, a landlord conflict, or a mental health crisis, the difference between early support and delayed support can determine whether they're staying housed or they're entering into the homelessness system. And support begins while the person is still housed, not after they've fallen into crisis. That is the ideal situation and where the most effective kind of supports and entry points and connections can really happen. So, what is the experience like after individuals connect with us? What we're seeing consistently is that when people are connected to the program early, they stay housed, and that is the outcome that matters most above everything. People aren't left to navigate things on their own. They have that peer support worker who understands their situation and works with them step by step, talking with landlords, gathering documents, navigating those benefits, etc. As support continues, people build skills that make housing more secure in the long run, and they start building and feel empowered to communicate with landlords, stay on top of paperwork, and access the supports that exist for them when they need it. And that is from even from a service provider perspective, that's quite empowering seeing somebody being able to take the initiative and fill out paperwork when historically they were never able to do that. So that speaks volumes. And they're not left disconnected. They get those regular check-ins with somebody that can help navigate before that situation gets harder, and they can also reach out to the program themselves. Um, and then really, if we take kind of a step back from the program of what are the consequences of doing nothing, essentially, like with programs such as the housing diversion and peer support. Really, when someone loses housing, everything becomes much more difficult. Without a stable place to live, day-to-day problem solving becomes overwhelming, and people begin to rely on emergency systems. We see the same problem across the sector, which I'm sure many of us can relate to. We've got increased emergency room visits, hospitalizations, and police interactions increase. And these are not personal failures. These are the result of people trying to survive without stability. It becomes harder to return to housing. People lose belongings and documents, income becomes less predictable, and the stress of survival makes planning nearly impossible. So while support after housing loss is vitally important, it becomes that much more complex and much less likely to quickly being able to likely to lead to quick stabilization. The single greatest thing that we can do is prevent housing loss in the first place. And this is what we are really doing here at CMHA. We provide housing as a provider, but we're also looking at how do we prevent individuals from losing their housing, essentially. And that is a firm standard that we are going behind, that keeping people housed is the most powerful intervention we have. And from our team and looking at our data narrative, we believe that we found a way to effectively achieve this. So that concludes the actual presentation portion. I want to open up the floor to everyone. If there's any questions that you have about peer support, housing diversion, or CMHA housing that you might have for myself or Marnie.
And there's a couple of questions in the chat as well.
Okay, open it up. Just from Priscilla, who's currently on income support, never is going to be coming in housed. At risk. Okay, so they currently, and just to clarify, Priscilla, they're on income support, so they do have some income coming in, and they're working to strengthen employment. That would likely be like, and they currently still have. Are they facing like an eviction? Because that may be a situation as well. Like if individuals are facing evictions or if they are or if they're an unsafe or unstable situation, then that would fit the criteria for facing eviction. Yeah, and if they're still housed and they do still have income coming in, they would be an appropriate referral for our program. No worries. I've been having tech issues all day today, so completely understandable. And then from Homeward Trust, wait times, they were like, can you speak to current typical wait times for someone seeking housing with you? So right now, we currently don't have wait times. We do have quite a heavier influx coming through. So I don't know if in the near future, if that will change, but right at this current moment, we don't currently have wait times for individuals being referred over to us.
And if you are referring to the housing program, our current wait list is around 12 months. And again, that's just an estimation. Someone literally has to move out before someone can move in. So the wait list theoretically just grows and grows until apartment is vacant. And when that happens, we start at the top of the list and work our way down. But each application is assessed and scored based on need, so it has nothing to do with when they apply for housing. So someone could apply tomorrow and be housed in a month and a half, and someone could be still waiting for 9 months, 12 months.
Was there any other questions that anyone had? No problem. That being said, I do believe within the presentation, I do believe this recording will be sent out to everyone, and it does have myself and Marnie's contacts. So if there's anything that comes up after the presentation, please feel welcome to reach out to us and ask any questions that you might have, or if somebody you're working with, if you're wondering if they're an appropriate referral. For individuals also in the community to access the housing diversion and peer support, individuals can also be referred through 211 and the Edmonton distress line. So that can also be an option as well. That's a good question here. Allison, was that referenced for myself or for Marnie? Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. That was just thanking for supporting everyone in these
Right.
circumstances.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Allison. Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we will wrap up the lunch and learn. Thank you so much, everyone that came out today and to learn a little bit more about CMHA's programs. It's greatly appreciated. And yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always here to answer some questions.
And I'll just add at the end, we also have just moved into a new location, and our new address for our main office is 10232 106th Street, which is the former site of Norquest College. And yeah, so we're in a big, new, beautiful space. So um, just wanted to give you that update. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, everyone, for coming today.
Thanks so much. Thanks, and take care, everyone.